Thanks for joining me for another video. My name is Sean and I'm a registered dietitian. Today I'm going to walk you through a typical ICU patient scenario, one that I encounter frequently, and I think that it's important for interns and new dietitians to be comfortable dealing with. So real quick, here's our patient. They are intubated in the ICU. I've used the PSU equation, the Penn State University equation, because they're intubated, and that came out with 1,700 calories. They need 90 grams of protein. I'm just hypothetically going to say it's 1.3 grams per kilogram. I have another video on protein, deciding protein needs, so I'll put that in the description below. But they need 90 grams of protein, and they have a sedative medication called Propofol, and this is often used in ICUs. And this has some calories associated with it. So I'll show you how you manage the nutrition support recommendations, taking into account additional calories from Propofol. We have two different ICU formulas that we're going to be looking at today. One of them is Vital AF. This is a 1.2 cal formula. It has 1,200 calories per liter, which is exactly what you would expect with a 1.2 cal formula. It has 75 grams of protein and 811 mils of free water. The other ICU formula that we will take a look at is Vital HP. This has 1,000 calories per liter. It's a 1 cal formula, 1 calorie per milliliter. It's a 1 liter bottle or 1,000 milliliter bottle. So there's 1 calorie per mil, so you get 1,000 calories per liter here. 87 grams of protein and 836 mils of free water. So I'm going to walk you through a rate-based as well as a volume-based equation, math on this patient here. So first we're going to take the patient's needs. Of course, this doesn't want to work, so we're going to switch pens here. I think I've written on this board so many times it just doesn't want to write anymore. So 1,700 kcals minus the calories that the patient gets from Propofol. So Propofol is a medication that is a sedative, and it's a lipid emulsion. So the sedative is in a fat base. And so as we've learned in our MNT classes, a 10% lipid emulsion is 1.1 kcal per milliliter. So a 10% lipid emulsion is 1.1 kcal per mil, and a 20% is 2 kcals per mil. So this is going to be a 10% solution. When we're looking at intralipids and TPN, it'll be a 20% kcal or 20% solution, but Propofol is a 10% solution. So the way that we figure this out is you take the milliliters, there's 19 mils per hour, times 1.1 calorie per milliliter, times 24 hours in a day. We're going to kind of smush all this in here. There's not a lot of space because there's so much to go over, but we take the mils per hour. Now be careful, on the pump for Propofol, it might have mics per kilogram per minute. That's not the number you want to use. You want to use the mils per hour. So if you stare at the pump long enough, it'll flip between the two numbers. So you want the mils per hour. So 19 milliliters per hour times 1.1 calorie per milliliter times 24 hours in a day. Meaning this person is getting 500 kcals from Propofol. I'm going to grab a little sheet here. So write that down. A 10% lipid emulsion has 1.1 calories per mil. A 20% lipid emulsion has 2 calories per mil. And down below, I'll put the equation for deciding Propofol calories. So this person needs 1,200 calories from their nutrition support, which is remaining after we subtract the Propofol calories. They also need 90 grams of protein. Propofol does not add any protein, so they have high protein needs and low calorie needs. Now, if we were to use Vital AF, this is a 1.2 calorie solution. So what we would do, you would take your 1200 kcals, always divide by the calories per mil. You're going to get 1,000 milliliters. Divide your 1,000 milliliters by 1,000. This will give you 1 liter. 1 liter per day. What this means is 1 liter per day of Vital AF will provide 1,200 calories. And we know that because Vital AF is 1,200 calories per liter. So we always take our kcals divided by the concentration of the tube feeding formula that we're looking at. Divided by 1,000 will give us our multiplier. And then you can multiply this by your 1,200 and your 75. So 1,200 and your 75. So what this tells us is this patient, while we meet their calorie needs, 1 liter will give them the 1,200 that they need, but the 1 liter only gives them 75 grams of protein. They need 90. So this Vital AF is not going to be the formula that I choose because they're just getting too many calories from Propofol. So let's try the same thing but with Vital HP. The patient needs 1,200 kcals remaining after we subtract from Propofol. We divide by the calorie concentration of the formula, which Vital HP is a 1 cal formula. So this gives us 1,200 milliliters per day. We divide by 1,000 and you get your multiplier, 1.2. 1.2 liters per day of formula. What does that mean? That means that 1.2 liters per day of formula will provide the amount of calories that the person needs. So our job as dietitians is to make sure that we meet both their calorie and their protein needs. So you multiply, you use your multiplier, and we'll multiply that by our 1,000 kcals per liter, which we have here. And this is information that's available on your formulary at your facility. So any facility that you work at will have a formulary, and it tells you the formula per the calories per liter, the protein per liter, the fat per liter, the water per liter, the potassium, the phosphorus per liter, has all that information written down. I just put it here for your reference, but it's all available at your facility. So 1,200 calories per liter of Vital HP, they'll need 1.2 liters per day of formula. I know that 1.2 liters per day of Vital HP will provide 1,200 kcals, and our 87 grams per liter times 1.2 liters per day gives us 104 grams of protein. So what this means is this Vital HP is going to be the formula that we choose for this patient. So for now, let's just erase this volume-based. We'll do that in a minute. Cool. So the first step that we decide is what formula we're going to use. Now that we know that Vital HP is going to be the right formula, what rate should it run at to provide the adequate calories and protein for our patient? So what we can do here is we know that our patient will need 1,200 mils per day. We know that's how much the patient will need in order to meet their calorie and protein needs. So what you do is you take their mils per day and you divide it by 24. That'll give you your rate. So 1,200 divided by 24 hours per day gives you 50 mils per hour. Now, if that was a weird number, we would round up to the nearest 5. But since we don't have to do that, 50 mils is our rate. So our final step is you take your rate, 50 mils per hour times 24 hours, gives us, we're basically doing it backwards, but this is always important. You want to double check your work. You take your rate divided by the hours per day that it will run, gives you 1,200 milliliters or 1.2 liters. And I know that 1.2 liters of formula will provide, you run your multiplier with all of these. So 1.2 liters of vital HP gives us 1,200 kcals and 104 grams of protein. And then last but not least, it gives us, we have 836 mils of water times 1.2 gives us 1,003 mils of H2O. So the way that our chart note will read is recommend vital HP at goal rate of 50 mils per hour to provide 1,200 kcals, 104 grams of protein, and 1,003 mils of free water. Recommend additional free water flushes of 60 mils Q4 hours. So that's how I would do the rate-based equation. Now, it was really nice that the math kind of worked out at 50 an hour, but remember, if this is a weird number, you have to round up. So watch some of my other videos. I go over those weird examples. So let's erase this, and I'll show you how you do the volume-based. All right, so for volume-based formulas, we're still going to do the same thing. We figure out their needs. We subtract our calories of Propofol from their calorie needs to give us the remaining calories that we need to make up. We take those calories, divide by the concentration of the formula, divided by 1,000 to get our multiplier, and you use that multiplier against the protein per liter to determine if this formula will provide enough protein given the patient's calorie needs. So we've already done that work. We know that vital HP is the correct formula for this patient. So in order to do volume-based feeds, we have to figure out how many mils per day this patient needs. So what you would do is you would round that number up however many mils per day. So this patient would need 1,200 mils per day. We would round up to the nearest 50 mils. That's our hospital policy, is round to the nearest 50 mils. We already have a nice even number. So this patient needs 1,200 mils per day. And we know that this will provide the patient 1,200 kcals, 104 grams of protein, and then we just do our 1.2 times our 836, 1,003 mils of free water. Cool, so if we're doing a volume-based tube feeding for this patient should receive 1,200 mils per day to provide 1,200 calories, 104 grams of protein, and 1,003 mils of free water. Recommend Q4 hour, 60 mil Q4 hour free water flushes to meet hydration needs, or to minimum to keep the feeding tube patent. So this was a very easy example. These numbers kind of worked out exactly on the mils per hour and exactly on the volume-based tube feeding mils per day. So I'm going to actually make a follow-up video. I'm going to go ahead and change these calories and protein just a little bit and show you again how I do the rate and the volume-based feeds on numbers that don't work out quite as well. So stay tuned. If you appreciate these videos, please give me a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe. If you have any questions or requests for different videos, leave them in the comment section down below. Stay tuned for the next video. Cheers.